We're in trouble, America. We are in trouble. We are in trouble. I was thinking of this thing last night and this morning as I was preparing for my show with the Donald Sterling situation. I was thinking of it last night, and well, not, I wasn't stressed behind it, but very concerned about what I see happening in my country. And I realized that America is headed down the same pathway as South Africa did when they ended apartheid in South Africa. What happened in South Africa when they ended apartheid, white South Africans had to run for their lives. Their land were being taken away from them by black angry mobs. It is to a point right now in South Africa that white Americans, not all of them, of course, but the ones who worked hard and they had their own lands and homes and things like that, they had to build walls around their communities to protect themselves from the angry black South Africans, from the mobs, and from the black government that took over. That South Africa apartheid did not end with loving your enemies. It ended with hating your enemies, and now it's a real mess, folks. The good folks are hiding behind walls, and not only did they have to build walls around their properties and to protect themselves, on top of that, they had to get bodyguards. They got people who have to watch, security guards to watch the property, plus put up the walls around their communities. And South African government and other parts of Africa have done the same thing to white folks over there, is not supporting white folks over there. And they're armed. They have to protect themselves from the angry mobs of black people who came out of that situation not with love, but with hate. And you have Nelson Mandela and all of the so-called black leaders over there to thank for that, because they brainwashed the people. And I know that Nelson Mandela is being held as a hero. Nelson Mandela is not a hero. I think he's dead now. He didn't die a hero. Nelson Mandela is no different, or was no different than Barack Obama, Jesse Jackson, the NAACP, the Congressional Black Caucus, Louis Farrakhan, Al Sharpton. They all are the same. And most of the black preachers who were not called by God but by their mama, Desmond Tutu in South Africa is as wicked as Louis Farrakhan and Jeremiah Wright Jr. They're all the same. The so-called leadership led black Africans to hell in a handbasket. And I see that happening here with this Donald Sterling situation and other situations like this. Donald Sterling was an example to all white folks who disagree with black people, who speak the truth about black people. They sent a powerful message that if you say anything, where it doesn't matter, it's in the privacy of your own home. You were set up by some woman. This is what's going to happen to you. And I see the same thing coming here, folks. Good folks will have to hide behind walls. Here's my concern. When Martin Luther King Jr. was alive and he started the so-called civil rights movement, Martin Luther King was clear that he wanted black Americans to come out of their situation with love and not hate. He did not want them to come out with hate because he knew that black Americans would do or try to pay white people back for what had happened to them in the past. And that's not good, because human beings have no right to try to pay anyone back for what they had to go through. And so that's why Martin Luther King Jr. was promoting love. He made it clear that the battle was a battle between good and evil, right versus wrong. And he said to black people, love your enemy, overcome evil with good. And while Martin Luther King Jr. was alive, that was working for a while. And when Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, then Jackson and these race hustlers, poverty pimps, preachers, and black preachers and others took over, and they turned the idea of forgiving your enemy by loving them into hating your enemies. And they did that for their own personal gain. They knew that if they could brainwash black people to hate, that they could control the minds of black Americans and use them whenever they wanted to use them for power and wealth. And now those traitors are in control of our country. The Barack Obama and his type, Al Sharpton is in the White House now with Barack Obama. This is the same guy that destroyed some police officers in New York lives based on a lie from some black girl, Tawana Brawley situation. He's in the White House with Obama. We now have exactly the same type of situation in America that happened in the government of South Africa. Once apartheid ended, the hateful so-called leadership took over the government, and white people had to go into hiding. Many of them had to leave the country. They had to build walls around their homes and around their properties because angry mobs were going and killing them and stealing and robbing and just carrying on. The same thing is coming to America. After what happened to Donald Sterling the other day or this week, whenever this stuff is going on, after banning him for life from the NBA and the way that he was attacked by the liberal media, weak, conservative white people, and liberal whites and blacks. You got my word, short of a miracle from God. And because the people don't know how they are being manipulated by the so-called leadership in the media, these people will continue to take over. They're going to take over the government completely. They're going to take over major businesses around the country, and not because they're earning it. They're taking it by intimidation. They have passed laws against white Americans that punish you if you use your First Amendment or your Second Amendment. And so what's going to happen is white Americans are going to have to end up in America building walls, and they're already doing it. Out in Thousand Oaks, California area, way out there, beautiful area, there are walls around their properties. There are bodyguards or security guards at the gates. You have to give your name before you can go in. I visit friends out there. And we're going to see more and more of that because these people are going to run the cities. They now have the government, and it's going to be all out race war against white Americans because most black people have been taught to hate white folks, not realizing that they have been brainwashed by people like Barack Obama and the so-called civil rights leaders. And white Americans are too afraid because they have seen examples of what can happen to them by examples like Donald Sterling or Mr. Bundy. And they, I mean, this is putting more fear in the average white person. They're not going to do anything. You're going to end up, the Bible says that we're going to have to buy rocks to hide behind. It's already happened in South Africa, and it is happening here. The good folks, and the rocks are the walls that they're building around their communities. And I say to Black Americans, revenge is not good. This hatred that you have for your fellow man and taken away from folks who have earned their way is not going to profit you anything, Black people. Your leaders are going to get the material wealth and power, but you will have nothing. And if you look at your own life right now, this is to my Black audience who are listening, look at your life now. You don't have gained one thing from the last 50 years to now from what Jesse Jackson and others have done to white folks. You haven't gained one thing by Barack Obama being in the White House. And yet we're more divided as a race. As a matter of fact, Black people are poor today under Barack Obama than they were with George Bush, Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan, or even that stupid idiot down in Georgia. What's his name? Jimmy Carter. We're in a mess, folks. I'll take some calls when I come back. 888-77-53773. Donald Sterling banned from the NBA for life and fined $2.5 million. I hope he keep them in court for the rest of their lives. Back in a moment. Uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. Welcome to the second hour of the Wednesday edition of the Jesse Lee Peterson radio show. Manhood Hour is coming up in the third hour. Man, we need men to come back. We need a manly president. Right now we have a she-man, something. A weak, pathetic person as a president. Everybody and their mama. Also in the next hour, folks, I'm going to tell you about a press release, very interesting press release concerning the NBA commissioner, the NAACP, and others. But for now, as you know, everybody and their mama are talking about this guy, Donald Sterling, and it's trouble for him. He's in trouble, but apparently he doesn't care. It is known that he doesn't care what people think of him. Now we're going to get into all that. I have with me Michael Skolnik. Michael is the political director to Russell Simmons, and editor-in-chief of Global Grind. And Michael has been a guest here on this show before, and I'm glad to have him back. He wrote an article, "There is no room in America for Donald Sterling, hashtag F racism." Michael, good morning, sir. Welcome back to the show.
Jesse, good to be back on.
I appreciate you being here. Michael, are you more Democrat, liberal, Republican, conservative? Where do you stand when it comes to politics?
I'm not sure why that matters to this conversation.
It matters a lot because conservatives are feeling differently about the situation than liberals or Democrats versus Republicans.
Jesse, I haven't seen anyone feel differently across this country in regards to what Donald Sterling said in terms of political affiliation. I think there's a united front, whether Republican, Democrat, liberal, or hate politics, against racism and against what Mr. Sterling said to his girlfriend. So I don't think that I have not heard, and maybe I'm in the dark here, but I have not heard one defender on any radio station, whether it's conservative radio or liberal radio, that's defended Donald Sterling.
So do you tend to lean more liberal or conservative?
I don't think that matters.
Are you afraid to tell us?
I'm not afraid of anything. I don't think it matters to this conversation. I'm not going to be put into a box because of my political affiliation of how I feel about racism.
Amazing. You wrote an article, "There's no room in America for Donald Sterling, #F racism." What do you mean there's no room in America for Donald?
I think as again, the nation has united, and I saw even you hashtagged "We Are One." So I think you share the same sentiments as most of the nation around this idea that we are one nation under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all, and that there is no room for racist rhetoric. There is no room for discrimination. There is no room for hatred towards one another. And we have to be loud as a united country, I think, which we have been. It's been a proud moment for this country to stand up against a man like Donald Sterling. And it's been a time of reconciliation amongst each other, that we can do this together.
Do you feel the same way about Sharpton and Jackson? Jackson called Jews Hymietown. Sharpton destroyed lives of police officers in New York. There have been race hustlers and poverty pimps for the last 50 years or so. Do you feel that there's no room in America? Sharpton with the Tawana Brawley situation. Do you feel there's no room in America for those people as well?
I think, the conversation, the distraction about Reverend Sharpton and Reverend Jackson, let's stay focused on what happened in Los Angeles. I think there's no room in America for any hate speech, no matter who it comes from.
So are you saying yes, you agree that there's no room for Jackson and Sharpton and others?
I would be happy to discuss Reverend Jackson and Reverend Sharpton, specifically what they said in the past and what they have said and what they've said in the present, but I don't think that's what this is about. I think let us not get distracted and lose focus, because it's easy to do that, Jess. It's easy to go back and say, well, these guys said this. There's no room in America, there's no room in the world for 234 Nigerian girls being abducted. We're not talking about that. I'm sure you're not talking about that, who were just abducted 2 weeks ago. There's no room in this world for Ukrainians to receive letters on the floor of saying, if you're Jewish, you have to register.
So, Michael, is that yes, there's no room for Sharpton and Jackson and Obama and others, race hustlers?
Well, we have a difference of opinion. I mean, you just called the president a she-man. I don't think there's any room for you to have that conversation and to be derogatory towards women and derogatory towards men.
Obama is a very weak, poor, pitiful excuse of a man. And we all know that now in the country, so I'm not speaking anything that's not true.
In all due respect, your views on women by calling a man a she-man is quite saddening.
What does that have to do with women by calling Obama a she-man?
Because you're saying that he's acting like a woman. How do women act? Women supposed to act weak?
What I'm saying is any man
Are women supposed to be subservient?
What I'm saying is that any man that's weak
is a woman?
Is feminine.
Well, that's extraordinarily offensive.
And to who?
Because women, feminine does not mean weak.
What does it mean?
Effeminate means strong, weak. Doesn't matter what you are.
Really?
There's many strong women in this country as strong men.
But shouldn't it be offensive to a man to be weak?
It should be offensive to a man to be weak? We all are weak. I'm weak all the time.
How are you
I'm sure
weak?
You're weak all the time.
How are you weak, Michael?
I question my decisions. I have insecurities. I wonder if I'm being a good father.
What are your insecurities?
What am I, Jesse? You're my psychiatrist. Let's talk about Donald Sterling. If you have insecurities, it's like when George Bush was asked, "Have you made any mistakes?" and he said, "No." We know that's not true.
I want to move forward with this,
Michael,
hold on. I want to move forward because a lot of folks want to talk to you as well.
I'd be happy to talk to your listeners.
Does Donald Sterling have the right to have a private conversation? At least he thought it was private, in his home with his girlfriend, and not be punished for it?
Let me ask you a question.
No, answer that first, and then you can ask.
Well, Mr.
Answer that first, Michael.
Okay, I'll answer that question. I'll ask you a question. Mr. Silver said it best yesterday in his press conference when he was asked that same question. The conversation became public, so he had to deal with it as a businessman, and they dealt with it as a business. Right? This is a free business. This is a free market society. He's part of an association, the National Basketball Association, and his colleague in the association, under their bylaws and constitutions, made a business decision. That's under their constitution, their bylaws.
But does he have a right to have a private conversation in his home about whatever he want to talk about
if Mr.
or whatever he want to say.
If Mr. Sterling was arrested, I would fight like hell for Mr. Sterling's right to free speech. That's not what happened. He was punished by the association he was a part of, that he signed up for, and that's his doing.
What good?
Well, I have a question for you, though.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Go ahead.
Question.
Yeah.
Do you think what Mr. Sterling said was racist?
No.
You don't?
Absolutely no. Not one iota, no.
And do you think that his wife and his children said that he was racist? Do you think they know him better than you know him?
They do know him better than I know him.
And if they called his comments racist, would you agree with them?
As Donald Trump said, when you listen to that tape, Mr. Sterling was set up and led by a evil, vicious woman whose intent was to destroy him. And you had two dialogue.
Is his wife and children not telling the truth?
Donald Sterling was dealing with. It's as though he was jealous of this woman hanging out with all these guys, putting it on Instagram. His friends talking to him about it. He was having a lover's quarrel while not being aware that this woman was leading him in conversation and setting him up for destruction. To me, that is not racism.
Donald Sterling asked her to record the conversation?
She said it, but I don't believe it. She's a liar. How can you trust a woman that's going to set you up, record you, and give it to the media? That's not an honest person. Hold on, Michael. Back in a moment, folks. Uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. Welcome back to the show. Michael Skolnik is with me. He is political director to Russell Simmons and editor-in-chief of Global Grind. He wrote an article, "There is no room in America for Donald Sterling." And I'm wondering, wherever they want to send Donald, will they also send Barack Obama, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, most of the black preachers, and the race hustlers, along with Mr. Sterling? Michael, I want to ask, and we will get to your calls, folks. Now that they have attacked Donald Sterling, the NBA commissioner banned him for life. They fined him $2.5 million. How will regular black people benefit from all of this? How would they be helped from this or by this?
Well, I think the nation is uplifted by the support against racism. So I don't think that it's just regular black people are going to be helped by this. I think the entire nation is going towards a more perfect union and fighting for more compassion and tolerance and generosity. And the fact that we see a businessman is worth X billions of dollars be reprimanded and suffer the consequences for saying racist remarks shows that there are consequences for your actions.
Amazing.
And we're not going to just let these things slide by. And as a nation, we're united against that.
If not all, most white people are not feeling uplifted at all by the Mr. Bundy situation, Cleveland Bundy situation, or Sterling's situation. If anything, they feel the weight of hatred from black Americans. How will we ever end racism in America if we don't deal with black racism toward white folks?
You're speaking on behalf of most white people?
No, I'm speaking on behalf of truth. How will we end
truth? But you just said most white people.
Because I hear from them all the time, all around.
Most of them?
Yes, they all around the country.
Jesse, you have 8,000 Twitter followers. I got 123,000 Twitter followers. So I don't think you're hearing from most of them.
Michael, how will we ever end racism in America if we don't deal with black racism from black folks to white folks? And that's what we see happening to Mr. Sterling, Mr. Bundy. They are receiving black racism toward them. How will we end it if we don't deal with black racism? Remember the knockout violence?
Which wasn't true. Which wasn't true.
What do you mean wasn't true?
There was no such thing as a knockout game. The NYPD, Ray Kelly said that clearly.
Oh, Jesus.
It was one guy who was arrested for 13 assaults on people. One guy. That's not a knockout game. That's one knucklehead who's knocking out 13 people. And that man is in prison.
Michael, I reported those incidents months in and months out.
But you're not the police department.
Around the country.
You're a radio host.
So what do you call them?
The city of New York said there was no such thing as a knockout game as one person.
It was just one person.
Yeah, call Ray Kelly and ask him. Don't ask me. He said
Michael,
it.
so you're in denial. You're in denial about.
I'm not denying. You said the truth. Let's look
you're
at the
in
truth.
denial
Let's not make
about
up stories, Jesse.
Because of time, let's go back. Let's go back to my question. How will we end racism in America?
I'm happy to go back to your question because you know you're wrong on that point.
How will we
the answer to your question, Jesse,
how will we? Hold on, Michael. Hold on.
I'm white. I'm going to answer your question. I'm white. And I think what Donald Sterling said, I think what Clive and Bundy said is racist. I don't think there is an overwhelmingly majority of black people who are upset. I think the entire nation is upset. You don't see any Tea Party members standing by Clive and Bundy now.
Because they're afraid to. They're afraid to be called racist.
Because they're not racist.
Michael,
most Tea Party members in this country are not racist.
The entire country is not united in what happened with Mr. Bundy or Mr. Sterling. Believe me, I'm not in agreement with what happened to those two men.
Do you think what Clive and Bundy said was racist?
I want to go back to my original question.
Do you think,
what
Clive and Bundy said was racist? You can defend him.
Absolutely not.
Clive and Bundy?
Absolutely not. Not at all.
Do you think what he said wasn't racist?
No, it wasn't.
Okay. But calling black people the N-word is a good thing? We should go back to 1924 and call them the N-word?
Michael, hold on.
Answer that question,
No, you're not answering my question.
I just answered it.
How are we going to end racism in America if we don't deal with black?
We're going to end racism in America by talking about racism. And we know historically in this country for the past 400 years, the majority of racism in this country has been white on black. We know that.
Do you agree with me that most blacks are racist toward white folks?
No.
You don't agree?
I don't speak on behalf of any group of people.
Do you agree with me?
Most this and most that.
Do you agree with me that Sharpton and Jackson are racist?
No.
How about Obama?
No.
So just white racism out there, right?
You didn't say a white person. I think Donald Sterling is racist.
Are white people racist?
There are black people who are racist and there are white people who are racist.
No.
I don't think Sharpton, Jackson,
now you're throwing in the black folks.
That was the question you asked me.
So are most white people racist toward blacks?
No.
Yes, they're white.
You said most. I never used the word most. You used
most black
times.
people racist toward whites?
There are some black people who are racist toward white people. Absolutely. And there are some white people who are racist towards black people.
Michael, how will we end racism if we don't deal with black racism toward white folks?
We got to deal with all of it. We got to deal with all of it.
Give me a couple examples of black racism toward white people.
I've heard it with my own ears. It's not the point of I think we all know that. I'm not denying that. I've heard black people with my own ears.
Give me a couple of examples of black racism toward white folks.
Jesse, that's not the point. The point is Donald Sterling made a comment, and the country is united against racism.
Michael.
We're united. You might be one of three people.
You're running,
Jesse,
Michael.
You might be one of three people.
No, I'm not one of three.
United.
Michael, I'm one of thousands. Let's
hear the thousands of callers on your show that will call and defend Donald Sterling.
888. Okay, 888.
If you write a piece, Jesse, write a piece defending him. I will publish it on my site.
I will do that. I got your word on that. Hold on.
And I will publish it on my site.
Okay, so if I write an article
saying Donald Sterling is not racist.
Okay, and you
I will happily publish it as a supporter of our American Constitution, a believer in free speech. I will happily support your free speech and put it on our site.
Global Grind.
Globalgrind.com. 6.5 million people a month.
Well, I will do that, sir. I have your word on that.
You have my words, signed in blood.
And you're not going to hide and run and pretend you didn't get the article?
I don't hide. I called you. I said yes to you. Why would I hide?
Okay.
I'm on the phone with you right now for the second time.
Let's go back to my question. Give me a couple examples of black racism toward white folks.
Jesse, we agree on that already.
No,
we agree that exists.
But you're not giving me an example.
I'm not going to talk about private encounters where I've had conversations with people who have been
racist. Give me one example.
One example of a black person being racist to a white person?
Yes.
That's not the point.
That is the point.
Why is that
not the point?
Because the point is that this country is united against racism.
So how come they are only united against white racism but not black racism?
Because majority of the cases in this country is white on black. If you don't see that, I'm sorry.
Okay,
you're living in a bubble. Maybe you're living in a mansion somewhere, and that you're living in a bubble.
Michael,
come down with me to my community, and I'll go to your community, and we'll talk to people on the street who are living in reality, and we know that the majority of race in this country is white on black.
That's not true.
Well, where do you live, Jesse?
And just because the people said it,
Jesse, where
doesn't mean it's true.
Jesse, where do you live?
I live in Los Angeles.
What part of Los Angeles?
Pico, Fairfax District, somewhere around in there.
The Pico, Fairfax District.
Yes.
So I'm going to be in LA in 2 weeks.
Okay.
You and I walk through Pico and Fairfax, that district. Let's have conversation with people on the street and ask them what they think.
All
and
right.
then you can tell me it's not true.
And then I'll have you.
Brooklyn. You come to my neighborhood in Brooklyn. We'll walk through Brooklyn. We'll talk to folks in Brooklyn, and then we can say it's not true.
I'll have them. I'll have you in studio too while you're here.
I would love that.
When we come back from this break, we're going to take calls. 888-775-3773. Michael want to hear someone defend Mr. Sterling or Mr. Bundy. Back in a moment, folks. I think most people would agree with me today that Barack Obama is a girly man. The country is worse off under him than any other time in the history of America. Our enemies are all around us now. He's running from Putin like 90 going north, drawing red lines there. We look at the map, all you see are red lines and Barack Obama behind the lines. He is clearly a girly man. My guess is Michael Skolnik, and he said that white people commit more violent crime against or attacks against blacks than blacks do toward whites, which is not true. Blacks are 39 times more likely to commit a violent crime against whites than vice versa, according to the Department of Justice UCR Uniform Crime Report. Michael said there has only been one incident of the attack. What do you call it? Knockout attack against white people from black people. I don't know what world Michael's living in, but I'm glad he's here today. And he wrote an article where he says that Donald Sterling does not belong in America. There's no place in America for this guy. If they do decide to send Donald away, I hope they have a big enough truck to put Sharpton and Jackson and Obama and the rest of the race hustlers on it. Michael, how do you respond to the study that says that blacks are 39 times more likely to commit a violent act against whites than vice versa, according to the Department of Justice?
Well, Jesse, let's just set a few ground rules here, right? If we're going to have a respectful, nice, because I have respect for your thoughts and your opinions. Let's at least, if nothing else, let's at least respect each other. That what I said and what you said. If we're going to say what I said, let's at least get it correct. I never said anything about violent crime on black on white or black on white on black. I was talking about racism. We were not talking about violent crime. And the second thing is that I never said that one person. There's only one incident of the knockout game. I said there's one person who committed 13 incidents in New York City, and the commissioner of the NYPD, Ray Kelly, said that the knockout game was not true and it was a myth in the media. So at least let's quote each other properly and not make things up. The second thing I want to respond to you, this idea that Obama is a girly man. I have sympathy and for the women in your life. Because I know Mother's Day is coming up, and that's just next weekend.
I don't know why you keep going back to the women. We're talking about a man who is the president of the United States of America.
I have sympathy for the women in your life because obviously you don't like women. Because I love my mother. I love my mother. I love my girlfriend. I love my coworkers. I would never call any woman weak because of the gender of their body.
I call Obama a girly man.
And that's insinuating that women are weak. And that's a horrible thing to say.
Sure.
And I have sympathy for. I hope you're not married. I hope your mother still loves you because that's a horrible
Michael, hold
thing
on.
to
You
say,
wasting
Jesse.
time. Hold on. It's a fact, but hold on.
There's no fact that women are weak. It's a derogatory, disgusting, sexist thing to say.
Michael,
There's no fact
let's go
that
to the
women are weak.
phones. We got everybody that mama want to talk to you.
I hope their mothers call. I hope every mother calls and tells you what you said is
Michael,
sexist
that doesn't
and
work
offensive.
here. That doesn't work here. The name calling, pretending that I hate women, doesn't work for
you
me.
just called Obama a she-woman. You're calling names.
I said a she-man. He's
Or
a girl.
she-man.
He's
That's
a girly
name.
man. Let's go to the Bible Go-To God of Los Angeles. Bible Go-To God, welcome to the show, sir.
God, when men are so emasculated, they can't refer to each other acting like women as something not to be desired. Geez, we've come a long way toward emasculation. That's breathtaking to hear this caller talk about.
That's political correctness. Fascism.
Yeah, it is, and it's so demeaning to men that we can't just speak our minds and tell the truth about issues like this. Oh,
about women?
Let me ask your guest. Good morning, guest. I forgot your name. Sorry.
Michael.
Michael. Hi, Michael. Listen, I think Donald Sterling should hold on to the team no matter what until black people disband the Black Congressional Caucus, BET Television, all these professional black organizations that exclude whites. Until they do that, he should fire everybody black in his organization and just run the team into the ground, just until black people repent.
So there's one caller that disagreed with you concerning Mr. Sterling.
I'm not sure if you disagree with me. Did Donald Sterling say was racist?
What Donald Sterling did was not racist. If we have organizations like the BET running around, we have the black...
Nothing to do with the BET or the other... Was Donald Sterling's words racist?
If black people can freely associate in your face with themselves and exclude whites, then whites can do the same.
So two wrongs make a right.
Oh, I haven't heard you talk about BET being
Right,
wrong.
you haven't talked about the black wrong. You want to talk about the white wrong.
Well, you asked me to come on and talk about Donald Sterling. We can talk about BT at any time, but if you you guys are both making the argument that two wrongs make a right. Therefore, Donald Sterling's off the hook.
Is BET racist? Is the Black Congressional Caucus racist, sir?
No.
No, of course not, because it's a double standard.
What double standard?
Blacks can associate with blacks.
I got to
face too.
I got to move forward because of time here.
No,
this argument. Both of you are making an argument. Two wrongs make a right. Therefore, Donald Sterling is off the hook. No one agrees with you.
You just said that BET is wrong, but you won't call them racist.
I never said they were wrong. I never said BET was wrong. When I say BET was wrong, I said we can talk about BET. I didn't say they're wrong.
Don't make a right. You just said two wrongs don't make a right. What are you saying?
Asking you that question. You're saying Donald Sterling is okay to be racist because BET is racist?
Donald Sterling is not racist.
If you're
so he can do whatever he wants. He can fire every black person in his organization. That's not racist?
My point is, if Donald Sterling cannot freely associate and put it in your face that he only wants to associate and he wants his people to associate with whites only, like black people are doing with blacks only, then what do we have?
You can do that whatever you want, but, sir, you could do that. You can say whatever you want. There's a freedom of speech. The First Amendment of the Constitution, but you can't do that if you're a businessman in the NBA.
Oh, no? Then why is there such thing as Black Enterprise magazine and Black this and Black
and
that?
they have bylaws of their companies, and you have to live by them. If you sign up for bylaws, live by them.
I got to run. I must run. I'm sorry, Bob. My thing with Donald Sterling is that I don't know what's in his heart. I don't know if he's racist or not. My thing is he has a right to have a private conversation in his home, and it's known by all of us that he was set up by this woman who recorded his conversation, gave it to the media, and because he is Jewish or white, whatever you want to call him, he is now being punished for it. Whereas you have Jesse Jackson using the word Town, you have Al Sharpton, you have Barack Obama and others who are displaying racism. Nothing is being said or done about it. My thing is the double standard in America. This is hypocrisy at its worst. And if we got to be fair, we need to be fair on both sides of the fence.
I'll give you a better argument than that. I'll help you with it.
Do it when I come back from this break. Back in a moment. I do appreciate Michael Skolnik being here because a lot of folks who are on the wrong side of the fence are afraid to face real conservative, especially black conservatives. So he displayed a lot of courage by coming here. And I appreciate it, Michael. Also, I want to make the point that when you go to the comment sections concerning Mr. Sterling or Mr. Bundy, you see that the regular folks see through this phony PC crap. But when you listen to the liberal media or the so-called sophisticated people, they are supporting evil. But the folks know what's going on. And it's the folks that we're trying to help here. Mike, I want to ask just one quick question, and then we'll take some more calls. During the Joyce Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin situation, I wanted to ask you this. You expressed gratefulness to the Miami Heat team members, LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, for raising their hoodies for Trayvon in solidarity. I never understood solidarity for what.
Well, I proudly sit on the board of directors of the Trayvon Martin Foundation. Let me make that clear first, which was started by his mother and his father. And I applaud the courage, talk about courage, of LeBron and Dwayne Wade and the rest of the Miami Heat. And we saw again their solidarity with the Los Angeles Clippers as the first team to take off their jerseys and wear their warm-ups backwards just 2 nights ago. And I applaud them for their solidarity when they wore hoodies that every young black man in this country should be able to walk free through their neighborhood and not be stopped and asked for their freedom papers. So I applaud them for that, and I think that they are leaders, and I think they continue to be leaders.
So they stood up for a thug and stood against an innocent man, and you still think that that is the right thing to do? Well, Trayvon Martin was a thug.
Here, Jesse. Here's the sadness and the sympathy I have for you, because you keep saying, "Don't be a name caller, don't be." But here you're calling a lot of people names.
Who am I calling names?
You just called Trayvon Martin a thug.
He is a thug. He was a thug.
Did you know him?
Pot smoking. Did you see his Facebook page before they took it down?
Did you know him?
I didn't know him personally, but after reading his Facebook page, everything.
Based on someone's Facebook page?
How about
you're judging someone based on someone's Facebook page?
How about at No Limit Nigga? Does that sound like a good person?
Based on someone's name, you're calling him a thug?
Amazing.
Thug. With the definition of a thug is someone who kills somebody.
Let's go back to
assassin.
Let's go back.
No, it does not go back.
How about when he had?
You're wrong, you want to go back to something else.
How about when he held a gun in his hand? He had a photo of a gun. Is that what a good guy would be doing?
Oh, he had a photo of a gun, so therefore
he was raised by single parents who were not together.
He was raised by single parents who weren't together. Oh, these are facts, right? Because I know Sabrina and
Tracy. Let me take some more calls.
They're far from single.
No, the father and the mother were not married. They were married, I guess,
single parents.
When they got married.
50% of this country is divorced, Jesse.
Oh,
50%. Doesn't mean they're single parents.
Let's go out.
He was raised by a mother and a father.
Let's go out to Florida and talk to Clifford. Clifford, you're on with Michael.
Do you have any women who call your show, Jesse?
Yeah, we have something coming up.
Can we have a woman call in?
Hold on.
Using the old quote that my grandmother used to say, "Boy, you too smart for your own pants." But anyway, yeah, Mike.
I appreciate that, Clifford.
You've already defended Mr. Donald. Whether you know it or not, you've already defended him, because you said when Jesse was asking you to give you an example, and you said, "There's no way I'm going to give any of my friends examples in private conversations." And that's exactly what this man was having, a private conversation with anybody with some sense. In my book, there's no way in the world this man would say, "Oh, I'm going to give you this information. Go out and destroy me." Come on, man.
Well, there's your question, Clifford. Put aside the privacy argument. Put aside the privacy argument. If someone said that to you in private, would you tell them they're wrong?
You said that you're not going to discuss any of your racist black friends' comments that you've had in private. You're not going to do that, and that's what you told Jesse.
But in private, Clifford, I tell them they're wrong. Would you tell Donald Sterling in private he's wrong?
Was this girl wrong for what she did to him?
Oh,
Was
that's
she?
it. Was a private
We don't know all
no
the
way
facts.
this man would. And I'm wait a minute. Just let's get it straight. I'm no way agreeing necessarily with what the man said, but I still think he has the right to say what he want to say in his own home.
Yeah.
He
For crying
certainly
out
does.
loud.
But look, when you play with fire,
Come on,
you get
man.
burned. When you play with fire, you get burned.
Yeah, but look here.
Don't play
Okay,
with
in your
fire,
field,
Clifford.
you're way smarter than me, quote unquote.
No, who said that? I
And you
wouldn't say
know
that,
for
Clifford.
this, you're not going to give yourself any ammunition to destroy yourself, Mike. Come on, man. Come on. Let's keep it real, okay?
Yeah, but let's keep it
Taking my
real.
call.
You playing with fire. You're 82-year-old man playing with fire. You're going to get burned.
Oh, amazing. Thank you, Fred. I appreciate it. Let's go out to Chelsea, Michigan, and talk to Tony. Tony, good morning, sir.
Jesse, we got 10 minutes left. Did any women call your show?
Yes, we'll get to one next for you, Michael.
Okay.
Go
Hey,
ahead,
Mike.
Fred.
Hey,
Tony.
Mike, thanks for hanging in there, man, because Jesse can be a tough one. And if you ever come
I like Jesse, though. I like
Hey,
Jesse.
listen, I love him. Listen, if you come to Detroit and you and Russell Simmons set up anything in Detroit, I'm going to be the first one there because these people here need help bad. And
I appreciate that.
Nothing racist. So listen, I have one question, and then I'm off the phone. Now, David Stern was the commissioner of the NBA, right? Hello?
Yes, I'm listening.
He was the commissioner. That's a league 90% black, right? Now, before Adam Silver got the job, can you give me the 3 or 4 of the black guys he interviewed for that commissioner's job before Adam Silver got it?
Well, I think Adam Silver was certainly his deputy and was set up to take that job. I don't know the interview. I don't know the interview process which David Stern went about, but certainly for the past 20 years, Adam Silver's been groomed for that job.
Right. Hey, Jesse, that's my point. Did you check it out?
Yeah.
Hey, that's my point. All the black people screaming and hollering about this stuff, and now that $10 million a year job or how much it pays, none of them was even suggested to have that job. And hey. But I said, Mike, thanks for hanging in there. Jesse, I love your show, but I want to see a black commissioner. I want to see a black commissioner. I want to see a black commissioner everywhere. Not that I care, but I want to see it.
Thank you, Tony.
Mike.
All right. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Let's go to Mays. You want to hear from a woman, right?
I want to make sure women call your show and you listen to them.
Okay.
So make sure you have at least a balanced approach here.
I want you to listen to this one then, all right?
Okay, please.
Let me take a quick break, Michael. When I come back,
now we're going to take a break. Come on, Jesse.
Well, I can't help it. We're at a break right now. When I come back, Michael, I want you to give out your contact information, your website, and stuff like that for the folks. Again, folks, Mr. Sterling, I don't know if he's a racist or not. I do know that as an American citizen, he has a right to speak his mind in the privacy of his own home and outside of his home, too. And for him to be set up like this by this woman, it's this woman, so-called girlfriend, that should be in jail because she broke the law rather than Mr. Sterling. And I think there's a double standard in America. Blacks are allowed to do and say whatever they want to and about white folks and about black conservatives. Not a word said. I remember when Jesse Jackson said in a private remarks that became public that he wanted to cut off Barack Obama's private part. And so I'm wondering, is there a place in America for Jesse Jackson? I haven't heard anyone try to get him out of the country. It's a double standard in America, and I'm sick of it. And I think most Americans are. Michael, do you want to give out your website or anything like that?
I'm happy to give out my website. It's globalgrind.com.
Okay.
My Twitter handle is @Michael Skolnik, MichaelSkolnik, and my email address is info@mskolnik.com. And I'd be happy to talk and listen and understand and learn from anyone who wants to reach out to me.
Let's go out to Dayton, Ohio, and talk to Mays. Mays, good morning. You're on with Michael.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning.
Well, they don't really care for me because I tell them the truth. The guy that was talking about BET.
I
and all
love
that
you,
stuff,
Mays.
He wants to talk to me. He's just like the person that had a private conversation. Bible go-to guy. He's Caucasian. He's always trying to tell the black community what they need to do. So I said that the white community needs to tell them what they need to do. And you told them this morning, and he's upset with you about that. And then you have these conservative blacks that's lost. I don't know what's wrong with them. But they're trying to make you think that you're on a black show talking to black people, but you're not. And this one that you're talking to, he said he don't hire black people because they're lazy.
And they complain.
And they complain. See, he had nothing good to say
and
about
they
his
show
own
up
people.
late.
So you have to, but then the
And
man
not all of their maids, but most.
the one that was having this private conversation, nobody put those words in his mouth. If it wasn't in his heart, it wouldn't have never came out. You can have a private conversation and still say good things about people and not do the things that he did, but it was in his heart and it came out. It was.
All right. Thank you, Mace. Did that help you, Michael?
So Jesse, the one lady who calls in disagrees with you.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe you should listen to women more and not call Barack Obama.
I'm not one of those. I listen to folks who tell the truth. It doesn't matter if they're male or female.
But maybe women. Maybe if you opened your heart to women, you wouldn't be so angry against them.
My heart is open to truth. Never mind if it's male or female, black or white. Fred,
there is no truth. There is no truth that women are weak.
Fred,
there just isn't.
We're talking about Obama. Let me ask.
You're talking about a girly man. There is no truth to that.
Are women weaker than men?
No.
No. Men are weaker than women?
Are men? No.
Men are not weaker than they're both the same?
No, it's case by case.
Are they both the same?
Some people have strength. We're all born the same.
Michael, are they both the same?
Yes, we're all born the same. Yes.
Oh, Jesus. Michael, thank you for coming on.
Don't call Jesus. He's going to help you with this one. We're all born
Michael,
the same.
I got to run.
Your
Listen.
Bible under my Bible.
Hold on. It's funny listening to that, the NBA commissioner just now. He's trying to sound like he's so tough. It's easy to be tough when you got all the black liberals and the media on your side. But let me see him stand up for truth when he has to stand alone. Like he's just so mad. If I were there, I would have said, shut up. We have a spiritual warfare going on like never before in the history of America. And as I said in the opening introduction of the show this morning, the first hour, my concern is that I see what happened in South Africa happening in my country today, in that angry black liberal so-called leadership have taken over our government. They're taking over private businesses from white folks around the country. We see this happening with the Mr. Sterling right now. And white folks are afraid to speak, good folks are afraid to stand up and speak up, and not all but most, due to the fear of being called racist. And so now real racist folks, real racism is in position of power. And for the last 50 years, they've been chipping away at it, chipping away at it, and chipping away at it. And along the way, they have convinced not all, but most of black Americans that this country is a racist society. White Americans are trying to hold you back. Whatever you do, they are racist. And we are now becoming South Africa after the apartheid, in that once the apartheid ended in South Africa, the racist black so-called leadership over there took over, and all hell broke loose. Regular black folks who ordinarily wouldn't act this way or that way, they went after white people, stealing their lands, killing them, robbing them. They just went out of control. And what white folks did in that country, many of them left the country and went away. They just dropped everything and ran. The others have built walls around their properties, and they have security guards. They have these walls, thick walls around their land, and they have bodyguards, security guards. So just the wall wasn't enough. And that's what you have going on in South Africa. And South Africa is worse off today than it was prior to the end of the apartheid. Isn't that amazing? The same thing is happening here. At the end of the civil rights movement, we have blacks who hate white folks, who want power and wealth, who have taken over the government, starting with Barack Obama and on down, NAACP, Jackson, and a lot of the black preachers. And they have taught regular black folks that white folks are still against you. This is a racist society, and we got to take it back. We saw that happen just the other day, yesterday, with Mr. Sterling, Donald Sterling, of the Clippers owner. That's all this is about. It's a double standard. We do not deal with black racism in this country, just white racism. And my heart goes out for my black listeners who believe the lie. I want them to wake up and know that these things that are happening is not going to benefit them at all. Martin Luther King Jr. said we should overcome evil with good. Don't hate, but overcome it with good. When he was assassinated, the traitors took a message of love and turned it into hate for their own personal gain. And black people are not benefiting from this at all. Only the traitors, the so-called leaders, the hypocrites, the black hypocrites in the Democratic Party are benefiting from it. White racism does not exist for the most part. And you can find evil in all cultures. And that's why God wants us to be born again of good so we can deal with evil with good. And I want to say to white folks that you're doing in this country what they did in South Africa. You're building these walls, but once these folks destroy the inner cities, once they burn and rob and steal and kill, they're coming out there, and they will cross over your wall. I know in the Bible it says that we're going to be hiding behind rocks. Those walls are your rocks, but it's not going to keep these people out. Mark my word, because they're going to go out there and the government is going to say it's racist not to let the black people come there, not to allow them behind your walls. It's not going to end until you stand up. It will not end. Black racism from the top will not end until you say no more. The worst thing you can have in life is fear. And they have set what I think is the most powerful example of what will happen if you stand up by doing what they have done to Mr. Sterling and Mr. Bundy. I'm going to get to your calls here in a minute. And even if you disagree, I still want to hear from you. I sent out this press release, NBA commissioner and NAACP treating Clippers owner like a Nazi war criminal. That's what it's like a public lynching. That's what happened to Mr. Sterling. A public lynching to intimidate good folks. And lo and behold, many are falling for it. Los Angeles, Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson, founder and president of BOND, the Brotherhood Organization of a New Destiny, issued the following statement today, responding to NBA Commissioner Adam Silver's announcement that Clippers owner Donald Sterling will be suspended for life and fined $2.5 million for offensive remarks he made about blacks to his mistress. This man has a right to say what he wants to say in his home. Just think about the stuff you say in your own home. And if they had somebody record it, everybody would be in jail. We'll all be there together. Who secretly recorded the conversation and leaked the audio. Here's what I had to say about it. Donald Sterling is being treated like a Nazi at Nuremberg. His mystery goaded him into making the stupid remarks. The NBA has the right to protect their brand, but not the punishment and scorn. But the punishment and scorn do not fit the crime. This story is about a private quarrel between a billionaire and his girlfriend and the hypersensitivity of a bunch of spoiled, whining NBA players. Nothing more, folks. 888-77-JESSE. Back in a moment. Okay, folks, welcome back. We're talking about, it's Manhood Hour, and we're talking about this attack on Mr. Sterling and Mr. Bundy. We're in trouble, America. I'm telling you, if you allow these people to get away with this, who will be next? We have the race hustlers on the move. It's not over, folks. I'm telling you. This is about power and wealth. It's not about racism. It's not about Mr. Sterling. It's not about Mr. Bundy. It's about taking the wealth and the power away from the white man. That's what it's about. And if you notice, there's not a real focus on the girlfriend in this situation. But thank God for Donald Trump. Donald Trump. I want to go to soundbite 7 there, Andre. This is from Fox and Friends. Donald Trump goes after Donald Sterling's very, very bad girlfriend. One man is standing up and saying the right things. At least one man is doing it. Isn't that something? Donald says he got set up by a very, very bad girlfriend. Listen to this.
It's terrible. He got set up by a very, very bad girlfriend. Let's face it. That whole thing is she's called the girlfriend from hell.
Right.
But he what he said was terrible and despicable, and a very strong action is going to be taken. There's no question about it.
So, Donald, I'm looking at a lot of our emails. It says, hey, it's a private conversation. You now can't somebody, and clearly she was baiting him. Do you fight something like this, or do you just try to limit the damage in a situation like that?
Well, I don't know what you do. It's so bad, and she was baiting him, and she's a terrible human being, and he gave horrible answers and disgusting answers. And you're right, it's a private conversation, but it became very public, and it's a terrible thing for the league.
Yeah.
And I guess the commission is probably going to have to act very rapidly, because this has become, you have to hand it to TMZ. I mean, they do get the scoop. And Harvey Levin, the guy gets the scoops. But this is a very, very sad story.
Yep. It sure is. It's terrible, folks. For my whole country, for my entire country,